So after the Magician comes card number 2, which is the High Priestess, and astrologically it is the moon. So the High Priestess, I had a hard time, I think, sort of understanding this card for a while throughout my studies, but now I kind of have my own sort of understanding of it, in that for me the High Priestess is about, well, let's see, I'm going to read you my keywords. So my keywords for the High Priestess are intuit, or intuition, intuitive, and also observe and observation, and listen or listening. So my understanding of the High Priestess is basically that the High Priestess doesn't react. She responds. So she does not have any sort of reason to get really uppity about anything, because she already knows, if that makes any sense to anybody besides me. She is that energy that is always observing what's going on, instead of having to like throw it in your face or like force feed it to you. She already knows how this is going to go. So, for example, there are times when I'll just give you a personal example. There are times when my husband comes up with these ideas of things that he's going to do, or, places he's going to go. And I channel my inner High Priestess, and I just talk to him about these plans, and I talk to him about these ideas. However, I already know that this makes no sense and it's never going to fucking happen. I already know that. But instead of being a Debbie Downer and being all negative and listing for him all the reasons why this is not possible, it's not a good idea, it's never going to work, blah, 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 I just let him go through his own process, and I listen. I listen to what he's saying, and I let him work through his own process in his own way. All the while, I already know that what he's saying is probably not going to work out, or it's not going to happen the way he's sort of framing it. So for me, that is sort of the High Priestess. So really, there's no particular reason for why I chose this painting, other than I really like the idea of the High Priestess being older instead of very young. I feel like the High Priestess and the Empress are usually portrayed as being the same age, like the same age-wise. They're both kind of like maybe like middle-aged females, or young, like sort of younger. And I really like the idea of having the High Priestess being an older person, because I don't think that, I guess, I'm also an old soul, so I feel like even as a young person, I always felt like an old person. And that I feel like is very much the High Priestess energy, in that I already had this intuition, even when I was younger, of like how things were gonna go. I was already able to kind of see things through all the way till the finish, even if the other person wasn't able to, or if I wasn't able to, it's not my business to tell anybody else what they could or should do. It's just my job to listen and sort of help them work through their own process. So I think a lot of the times there's a power in just observing and sort of hanging back and just letting people go through their own process on their own. If that makes any sense to anybody at all, except for my own brain. But anyways, that's kind of how I see that High Priestess energy, is that she already knows all of the things and all of the possible outcomes, and she's going to let you figure it out on your own, if that makes sense. So, again, so the High Priestess is all about response rather than reaction, right? And she is just going to sort of go with her gut feeling and her gut instinct and know that this is either a really good idea or a really bad idea for herself. But if it's for someone else, then she's not really going to be a Debbie Downer unless, you know, there's going to be some sort of like danger involved. That's a bit different of a situation. But if it's just somebody who's just, you know, coming to you as a friend or coming to you for guidance or whatever, maybe sometimes we just have to kind of listen. We have to channel our own inner High Priestess and just let them, you know, just kind of let them work through their own process. And I think I think that's the power of the High Priestess, is knowing when to talk and knowing when to shut up, basically. It's what I have to say. So yeah, I really like the High Priestess. And also I think that, you know, because it's a number 2, and 2s generally represent, you know, balance, partnership. What did I write here? Let me see, numerology. So 2s are about, let's see, my numerology card, 2s, attract or attraction, balance, and contrast. So I feel like that's very much the High Priestess as well. She's able to, you know, compare and contrast internally. So it's a very internal card. It's not an outward card, I guess, if that, you know, sort of makes sense. And it's about attraction, right? It's about attraction rather than promotion, is very much the High Priestess energy for me. And I just like that, you know, she's kind of hunched over in her throne or her chair, and, you know, she's been around the block before. She has seen this story a time or two, and she knows how she knows how it's going to work out. She's not going to tell you. I think that's why sometimes people say that, you know, when they get the High Priestess card, they say, oh, it's unknown or it's still a mystery. It's because she is not going to tell you. You have to figure it out for yourself. She already knows, but she's not going to put her influence on you. It's on you to sort of figure out your own process. So I guess it depends on if the High Priestess is, you know, signifying you, or if you're reading it as, you know, a third party, I guess would be the kind of the difference in how to use this card. So, all right. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you on the next card.